All right, the Reds, talking Reds, Thursday's talking Reds, myself, Gareth Roberts, Paul Coe, back on, I was going to say terra firma, but we never left terra, we went across land. I suppose we went across sea a bit. You flew and stuff and went on trains. But we had vastly different journeys, but we're back in Liverpool, we're back in Avenue HQ, we're back talking about the Reds.
Back in body.
Yeah, back in body.
Not necessarily fully in mind.
We were just talking to each other about our general recovery from it all, really. We finally got back yesterday. We're going to do I think we'll do like a full vid thing of how the mad trip went, because we had Joe with us filming it and stuff, so it seems a shame not to do that. And people have said they want to see us do that. But a few spoilers. We got back yesterday, 2 p.m. We were supposed to get back on Monday, so, you know, a day late. And I was just saying to Kofi, like, I had a 2-hour bath, a 5-hour kip, something to eat, and then a 10.5-hour kip. So it's fair to say I needed kip. How's your recovery going?
Up and down, mate. If I'm completely honest. Yeah, I've just been saying to Robbo, I don't understand how anyone has a proper job coming back from stuff like this. One of my mates who was on the trip with us was in work the next day, and he just sends us a message in our WhatsApp group saying, just as a reminder, lads, in case you've forgotten, if you haven't re-entered the real world yet, it's shit. I was like, yeah, but I just keep falling asleep. Like I might fall asleep halfway through this. Who knows?
See what happens.
The biggest problem I'm having is. We were chatting about this as we were going, like we were just talking about like listening to your body and abusing your body and stuff, and I started to become acutely aware on the trip of the parts of my like functionality that my body was shutting down to stay alive. So like it'd be like your hearing, your voice, it was like the things you don't need, and then all of a sudden it just shut off temperature regulation. So like I'd be sitting there going to the lads, are you roasting hot? And they'd be like, no. And then I'd be freezing and sweating, and that hasn't come back yet. I think that's alcohol poisoning. But I did drink a bottle and a half of vodka on Saturday, so just as the middle thing.
That'll do it. I mean, one of my mates who was on the Anfield bus, Johnny, you may have heard him on some of the podcasts. He sent me a message yesterday afternoon. We all had mad ankles. We all had mad swollen ankles from basically sitting in one position or thereof, near enough, for a long time. You know, I think there was a stint where we worked out we were on that bus for about 20 hours or something like that, but, you know, pretty much a full day just travelling around Europe on a bus. But yeah, everyone's ankles swelled up to varying degrees. Most people couldn't actually see them. But Johnny's in particular were a bit mad, and he was starting to, you know, say he was feeling a little bit lightheaded and a little bit weird and this sort of stuff. And we were like, all right, well, you know, he's just a bit tired, or maybe it's the ale, or maybe it's the poor diet, or maybe it's just, you know, whatever. Anyway, he's gone to the doc since he's been back, and it turns out that he's got cellulitis, which is something I'd never heard of, so I googled it, and looks like it could be quite serious. Basically, the doctor said that he's got a mosquito bite at some point while he's been away, and then that's become infected with this like a bacterial infection, if you like. So he's on antibiotics. He's got to go back again tomorrow to be checked up on that he's all right. He's off work. So yeah, he's not enjoyed himself the end part of that trip there. So yeah, these are the sacrifices we make to go and watch a football team.
Isn't it mad how we do something as like a hobby, like that we've all had such a good time, and the thing we're doing for fun, you can't really like separate from having a life-threatening illness. Because like you're on that bus and going to him, oh, you just bevied,
right.
you'll be fine.
Right.
You just need to have another KFC and get over it. Get some vitamins down, yeah.
Yeah, the diet wasn't great. I feel like I need a huge detox, and yet there's a big night out on Saturday, so we're just gonna have to get on the huge detox in the gym and all that after that. Anyway, let's talk about the Reds and stuff. Some news that's out there today. The Telegraph's reporting today that Liverpool could face the threat, or Liverpool do face the threat of being forced to play a Champions League match behind closed doors next season, with UEFA to determine today what punishment the club will face after what the Telegraph calls a disgraceful attack on Manchester City's team bus last month. It goes on to say 8 weeks have passed since the trouble flared in the lead up to kick-off. Merseyside police have still to make any arrests, despite continuing to appeal for information. And Manchester City are dismayed by the radio silence. There's another bit of the report where it says City were particularly aggrieved at the time that Merseyside police publicised the route of the bus on social media. Some of this, I get that there's a likely punishment for what happened. I get that this is the way UEFA work. I get that people still like to make a fuss about these bus attacks by missiles and all the rest of it. People sending us messages about that when we were putting posts up about it was the anniversary of Heysel. I'm sorry, but the two things are not the same thing. And again, need to talk about context here. You know, no one is. You condemn that people threw bottles and cans at a bus, but let's put it into context. That's what it was, and the majority of people who were there on that day did not do that. And yet here we are, still talking about it, still having the clamour for, you know, a ban or behind closed doors, or let's all say the Scousers are this, or let's all say there's a problem with Liverpool. Just put the thing in context and talk about it fairly normally. You know, these things have happened around football matches before. There are dickheads that follow every single football club in the world, and they are in the minority. I just don't see the need to jump down the Liverpool road and send ridiculous messages to the likes of us, comparing an attack, things being thrown at a bus to people dying in a football disaster. But there you go. So we will see what happens with that. But I mean, it's just the language, isn't it, that's used by the media so often, I think, which is really unhelpful. Yeah. You know, we talk often about, you know, the perception of football fans, and I think, you know, by and large, you know, your normal person on the street now doesn't think, if you say to them, I'm a football fan, they don't turn to you and go, hooligan. Yeah. Whereas in the 1980s, there was a very good chance that they did do that. So, you know, we've come a long way. But, you know, the right-wing press in particular, just the language they use around football all the time is awful. Put it just, you know, you can make that report about the potential closed doors thing and everything else without all this, you know, hand-wringing about City being disappointed that, you know, the police haven't arrested anyone. How did he do that? If they haven't got cameras everywhere on that incident, how did they find the people who threw a bottle or a can at that bus among the thousands who didn't? You know, what secret method of policing is it they're looking for that they're disappointed that hasn't happened? I don't know. I just think some of it's like a bit shit stirred. And I said this before. You know, newspapers thrive off conflict. I've worked for them. I know. You know, you put something on a front page or a back page where it's one party having a go at another party, and they know that sells. They know that people read that, and they know that people will take sides. It will create debate and so on. And here we are again.
Yeah.
What else is there to say?
I think you've nailed it. But I'm just sick of it. I told you, I basically decided a few months ago I was going to buy Liverpool Football Club just because I was sick of like something having such an impact on my life and not having any control on it. And what I've realised over the past few months is I just keep one-upping myself. So the other week I decided I was going to take over UEFA because instead of just like moaning about ticket prices and that, thought, well, I'll just take over it and then sort all that out and sort out grassroots footy and help all the other clubs as well so that the whole league sustains. And then I get back and from like all this sort of stuff and I'm just thinking, I'm just going to have to take over the whole country. Like,
Prime Minister now, yeah?
Well, I don't now I'm going to change the name of it because I hate all that. Even being called the Prime Minister, how old-fashioned is that? It's crap, isn't it? And that's why you get crap people doing it. I don't want to be called the Prime Minister. But this is the first thing I changed. The media is shite. Old white men who want to control the narrative of the entire country and do still to a certain extent. And something it's actually been dead nice to see this week on. This is the beauty of social media because more people get to have their say. Yeah. Like with the Sterling stuff, it's the same thing. You get one thing happens and then like one small group of people get to decide what the narrative is, and then they push it with language like this. And just by like, even as I look down that, and it just makes me like laugh to myself because I'm like, the disgraceful attack. You're like, was it a disgraceful attack, or was it 4 people, or 10 people, or 11 people, or 20 people threw a can at a bus? Yeah, exactly. And if we just, and this is my thing, I was made up. You said that about language. It's just language. If you say like an English footballer has got a tattoo of a gun on his leg, I think most people just go, so what? Yeah. But if you turn that into this big thing of, but people are being shot by guns, I replied to Piers Morgan yesterday, which I wouldn't usually do, but you're saying, That's a good point, that Pierce, do you know what I mean? But are we banning all things that are dangerous and kill people? Because, you know, snakes kill people, and men kill people, men kill loads of people.
Cannons.
What about dragons?
What about cannons, like, which it's on the Arsenal badge?
Exactly.
Of
And
the
then
club he
like, all the
supports?
people got involved. It's like, I hope no one's got any pictures of cashew nuts, which was a great one. And it's all this, you're like, a disgraceful attack, all right. Even when people say missiles, like, missiles?
I know.
Really? I tell you what, someone throws a missile at a bus, it doesn't just break the window.
Not a scud.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's putting everything in perspective and context. And I have to say at the end of all that as well, before anyone jumps on our backs for this, we're not defending people throwing cans at buses. I do think that they should be punished, but as Robbo says, there's a much wider conversation in that, isn't it? Because are you saying then, if you want those people, and it's a disgrace that they haven't been punished, do you want cameras everywhere? Because then we've got a civil liberties question, haven't we? Yep. And are we going to have that conversation, or are we just going to shout abuse at each other?
And being aggrieved at the route of the bus, I mean, there's only two ways to get to the back end of Anfield. You know, that way or that way. Arkles Lane or past the Harry.
We said as well on the day.
I think everyone would have worked it out.
Don't come on a bus then.
Yeah.
Man City could fly in a helicopter and land in the middle of the pitch, couldn't he? Parachute
Feasibly.
Come in on the back of mopeds and no one knows it's you. But, do you know what I mean? Like,
instead of a big bus with Manchester City written on it.
How do we know it's the Man City bus? It's a massive bus there with Man City written on. On our way home, there was a Man City plane in, I can't remember which airport it is, I was bevied. But there was a massive blue Man City plane, like, wonder whose that is.
Did you throw a can at it?
Yeah.
I can't even speak. Elsewhere, I was struggling with this yesterday. I was literally, you know, you're talking about your body shutting down because of what you've done to it over a period of a few days. I tried to say to my son, do you want to go to the park and have a kick round with the ball? And I said something like, do you want to go to the ball and have a park with the kick round? You know what I mean? Just got all the words in the wrong order, and he was like, Dad, that never made sense.
I had to do the review yesterday. And I bumped it. Me and Ben Jono were doing it, and I saw him outside before. I went, how are you feeling, mate? And he just went, I just keep putting water in, and then it just comes out again. I was like, yeah, I'm the same. I was going to look on the internet, how do I keep water in my brain so that I can speak properly? And then on the review, you could tell we're all just a bit like, I just kept jumping. Not that I jump around everywhere anyway, but I was in the middle of sentences going, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know what this is meant to be.
But apparently it was a belter because it's had good reviews. So, you know, if you haven't listened to the review yet, it's out there. Okay, more solemn news, if you like, is that Sean Cox has returned home to Ireland. He remains in a critical condition, however. He's been moved from Liverpool's Walton Centre to Beaumont Hospital in Dublin. Obviously, as ever, thoughts with him and hope he does recover. You know, I'm pretty sad that he hasn't done already. The police are still appealing for footage that people may have taken on mobile phones and stuff before that game against Roma at Anfield. So if you have something on your phone that you think may help the police in any way, do get in touch with them. They're after any footage in the area between 7 and 7:45 around, you know, sort of Cop End and around Anfield. It may well capture, you know, some of the people that the police believe were involved, etc. It may help them. If you think you can help, there's an email, anfield.incident@merseysside.pnn.police.uk. You can also tweet them at MERPOLCC, so MERPOLCC, or put on Facebook, Merseyside Police CC. There's various phone numbers, you can ring Crime Stoppers as well. So if you can help out with that, please do. Back to the actual football then. And some, you know, it's a time of year where everyone's talking about transfers, everyone gets excited about transfers. And on the Anfield app, if you listen, you will know that we get very excited on here, in particular Mr. Rob Gutman. There are gutters already out there this week, which is our show where we look at every little bit of transfer tittle-tattle relating to Liverpool, assess it, talk about it, say whether we think it could work, whether it would happen, whether it's just people making things up, all the rest of it. Really popular, a much-loved show. There's one out already, as I say. There'll be another one out towards the end of the week. So I don't want to go too much into who we might buy on here, really. I want you to listen to those podcasts. But this is also a time of year where players that we've already got on the books, there's a question mark about, you know, are they staying, are they going? And a couple that I thought were worth talking about quickly were Divock Origi and Alexander Lallana. So Origi first helped Wolfsburg avoid the drop in the Bundesliga but only managed 6 goals in 31 games there for Wolfsburg. His agent has been talking, and he says that there's been talks with Besiktas, but he says a final decision over Origi's future rests with Klopp. He says, for me, it was a mistake for Divock to go to Wolfsburg. Klopp will now make a decision on him. If he wants to stay, then Divock will stay. If he wants him to leave, then Divock will leave. We're not looking for him to go on loan again. We want him to go to a team that has made plans for him. And in that regard, we've already spoken with Besiktas. I mean, where do you stand on this, really? I mean, I guess there's 2 ways to look at it. One is that we're definitely short up top. You know, that was sort of emphasised by the final. And the fact that, you know, he didn't even trust Ings to have him on the bench. And he brought on 2 midfielders, both lacking in form and fitness, really, to try and influence a game, which wasn't ideal. But then the second part is, well, you keep Origi and you could get him on the pitch at times, maybe, but is he good enough?
Yeah, it's massive questions, isn't it? I'd forgotten all about him, to be honest, until I saw this story this morning, and it made me wonder about the final. And I like that. I got a bit of stick after January for criticising the club for not bringing someone in, basically any attacking player. And I said sooner or later it could come back to bite you on the arse. And unfortunately, and I never wanted this to happen, unfortunately it did. And look, it's a much more complex question than just going, well, if you'd have bought someone in January, then you'd have won the Champions League final, because you might not have got to the Champions League final. There's so many different things that it could have affected. But it made me think of Origi, and I thought, well, even if you're not going to bring someone in, is there an argument there that you should have some clauses there that you can pull back your lads?
I know.
Because
I think about
if we could have brought Divock Origi back to our squad 2 months before the Champions League final and say to him, get yourself fit, because at the end of the day, we debated this on the review, and it was quite an interesting chat about whether he should have brought on Solanke in the final. My big thing on it is, why is anyone on the bench in that position if you're not going to trust them to come on? And I liked Origi and defended him for a while, and then I think we all got to a point where we thought he's not good enough, but he could influence a game. I think if you asked everybody now, interesting what you'd all think, if you could have brought Divock Origi on in that game, would you have brought him on down the right? I probably would have, more so than I would have Solanke. Because I think Solanke is more of your traditional centre forward, whereas I think Origi can do more in other positions. Saying that's a past conversation now. My overriding opinion on Divock Origi is, I mention this fairly frequently. I remember Gerrard saying years and years ago, if you've played for Liverpool's first team and you go anywhere else, back then he was talking about the reserves, but obviously that doesn't really exist anymore. But so now it's, if you go on loan, you have to be the best player. You've got to do what Harry Wilson's done. You've got to go to Hull and have all the Hull fans going, oh my God, he's brilliant, scoring goals, creating goals, getting player of the month. You can't go to somewhere like Wolfsburg and do what he's done. And you can have all the excuses in the world, but if Steven Gerrard had gone on loan at this point in his career, he'd have been the best player Wolfsburg ever seen. And that's just what he'd have done. He'd have gone, I'm making a point here. I'm going to make sure that whatever happens, when I've finished this loan spell, everyone knows I'm brilliant. And we've seen this loads in the past with Liverpool players, where someone looks like they've got potential and then we just seem to ruin them. I don't know what it is, like psychologically they just fall off a cliff, and I hope that doesn't happen to him, because I think he did have a huge amount of potential, and we've seen him in some games where he's just been brilliant, hasn't he?
Yeah, and same for Wolfsburg. I mean, you know, there's been little clips where you've seen him do something special and score a nice goal, or a little bit of skill that's, you know, resulted in an assist. Yeah. I guess it's just a question around consistency, really. I mean, there was a time, of course, where, you know, Klopp did trust in him and was starting him out in Dortmund over Sturridge and that sort of stuff. But I don't know, it kind of feels like, I think that's a good point in that, you know, he's gone out there, he's not ripped it up. He's not made it impossible. He's not made it impossible to not get another go type of thing, and twisted the manager's arm. Yeah. And it kind of looks like, you know, the manager now might maybe looking elsewhere. And I think this might apply to Lallana as well. I mean, I like Lallana, but I think, you know, his age, he's 30 now. He's had a string of injuries, which obviously have denied him more chances this season. And he made only 12 Premier League appearances in the season just gone, and only made his way into the starting lineup once in the league. Obviously came on in Madrid as well, against Madrid, sorry, and didn't influence it He's put a bit of a message on his Instagram. He says, signing off from Melwood for the summer break. I think it's stately obvious to say it hasn't been the season I wanted, purely on a personal basis. Gutted I couldn't have contributed more, but it's part and parcel of the game. Feel so incredibly proud of the players, staff and supporters for what was achieved during this campaign. We've taken the next step as a team and as a club. We'll use the summer to rest up, dust ourselves down, refocus and then go again. Only good feelings about where we're heading, and as always, thanks for the amazing support. I mean, it's a nice message, of course, and I'm well in on him for doing that. But straight away, something jumps out to me in that he's saying we've taken the next step. Well, we pretty much made that next step without him.
Yeah.
He didn't really influence the season, and when he's 30 and he's got the injuries lining up, you kind of think, is it now a lot more difficult? Given that we've signed 2 midfielders, there's more to come in. You can't really see him getting in the front 3 at any point. He hasn't got that burst of pace that's really needed up there. No. So it's sort of, where does he get his minutes? Where does he get his time? Being the type of player that he is. I mean, he'll still pitch himself obviously as a Premier League player, as an international. There was Gareth Southgate waited, didn't he, basically, to see if he could get him into the squad, and then left him out. So, you guessed that there would be clubs interested. I'm just wondering whether you think Liverpool persevere with.
I think it's a dead interesting one. I've seen loads of people talk about the idea that we've taken this next step without him, and sometimes this happens to players and you leave them behind. I've got a different view, I think, and this is something that's annoyed me about Liverpool fans for years now. This happened at the beginning of last summer. You start seeing people, and it'll be interesting to see whether this happens or whether everyone's changed their mentality, or most people start going, yeah, but how is he going to get in the 11? And I always go, he doesn't need to.
No,
like, we've literally just lost the Champions League final because they had a player on the bench who cost €100 million and came on, and with his first touch scored an overhead kick. And we discussed this on the review, and it is a good one to listen to, I think. And we were talking about how Klopp's got this poor record with subs, really, and everyone talks about that and debates it. And Zidane's influenced a game there with a sub. But I could have made that sub.
Yeah.
Like, it makes it a bit easier being good at making subs, doesn't it? When you can bring on Gareth Bale and he scores an overhead kick from 20 foot up in the air off a cross that's behind him. And then you can go, my sub, that lad. Wasn't really, though, as easy, was it? Like, no. Anyone could have done that. Yeah. And it comes back to these sort of points. Like, that we always seem to get to this point where we start buying more boss players, and then everyone wants us to sell other good players. I'm like, no, keep them all. And people go, yeah, but how's he? All I want, like, when going into that final, you've got to think, and we're all getting the positives out of it, which is my big thing, your big thing. But next time we get to a European Cup final, which we will, I want our manager to have some really tough decisions about who plays in that game. Like Zidane had. Yeah. Because by having those tough decisions, that means you've got the likes of Bale, Asensio, Kovacic on your bench. When your fullback gets injured, they brought on a Spanish international to play right back. We just didn't have that. No. And the way you stay, I keep referring to the review, but it's because it was yesterday. The way you stay strong, Klopp said this before the game, is you keep your core of players and you build on it. Real Madrid's starting 11 in the Champions League final was the same starting 11 as the year before. 6 or 7 of those lads have played in 3. That's how you get better. You don't get rid of lads unless they're just completely out of it. And you can tell by the fact Lallana was his first sub that Lallana's one of his trusted lieutenants. And I think we shouldn't be too quick to dismiss how good he is because of the season he's had. And yet he's 30 and his injuries might not go away or whatever. But I just think because of the value of what he can do and how good he is in that midfield 3, if he's fit, he still gets games. And if Adam Lallana plays 20 games for Liverpool next season, then I'm happy with that. And he might think, it's a question for him as well, because he might think, well, at this stage of my career, I want to play every week. But I think what we're building here is a bit like United under Ferguson, where as long as you can pay them decent money, you're going to get more and more players saying, no, I want to be a part of this, and I'd rather play 20, 30 games here than move to West Ham and play 40 games for them. I remember Benitez saying it about Peter Crouch when Crouch wanted to leave, and he was like, look, you're already playing 40 games a season. You just feel bad because I'm leaving you out at 25 because we're playing well more games than everyone else. But wherever you go, the maximum games you can play is 40, pretty much, because they're not going to have good cup runs. So why do you want to do that? Aren't you better playing 20, 30, 40 for us, winning things, being part of this? And it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. My personal view is, but I'm like, it literally says, it makes me laugh every now and then, because I set up my Anfield rap profile at the bottom of my articles ages ago, and it says on there, accused of being Adam Lallana's agent. And that's from when everyone thought he was crap. So, like, I'm biased. I think he's fantastic, and I would keep him.
Okay, well, as Kopi's referenced a few times there is the review already out there, going back over the final against Real Madrid in a bit of detail, looking at what went right, what went wrong, what could have been different and all the rest of it, like the review normally does. Out there today, there's a few shows as well, there'll be a few more. I'm not sure about which ones are which yet. Some might get switched around, so I can't tell you exactly what they're going to be, but there will be more shows to listen to. People were asking for more shows yesterday on Twitter and things like that. We did have a break for the anniversary of High, so we put nothing out on that day. Tomorrow as well, there will be another gutter, as I mentioned before, which looks at all the transfer tittle-tattle. The AFQ, as ever, the madness that is. City Talk will still be out there as well. And to come through the summer and through the next week or so, there will be season reviews where some of the regular contributors get to have their say on what they thought of the season just gone, whether they thought it was any good, what could have gone better, what was bad, what was good, all the rest of it. It will also be the transfer game, which long-term listeners to the Anfield app will know, which is a bit mad. And it's basically little teams compete with each other, decide how they'd spend the budget, what players they'd want and all the rest of it. And then we get you to say who you thought came up with the best team and all that kind of thing. It's a bit madness. Normally results in lots of arguments. Funny, like. But yeah, normally a good laugh as well. We're also working on lots of interviews. There will be specials on any more signings that Liverpool will make. So we'll be carrying on right through the summer. So it's still a good time, as ever, to subscribe to the Anfield app if you don't listen already.
And before we finish, I just want to say, if you don't subscribe, it's worth it just for the summer gutter shows. Mainly because Rob loves it when I talk about this, there comes a point in the summer where Rob goes on holiday. He's on holiday now, so I hope he's going to have another holiday. We might have to crowdfund it just for this, where he has to sneak away from his family to do the gutter shows, and he does it from a bog. And so you can hear it, like when you're in the toilet and it's echoing. And so I started talking about that last year, and he got to a point where he had to announce on a show that he wasn't sitting on a toilet, which I thought was brilliant. But I still think it's true. It's an allegation, I can't prove it, but it's worth subscribing just to hear that.
Gutman on the bog was very popular. As Kopi says, escaping from his family with his mobile phone and giving you the latest on the transfer. Just the idea of him sitting watching loads of YouTube videos, on the sly.
I love thinking about things like that, like the real life, what's going on behind the scenes. Think of this grown man on holiday with his wife and kids. When she's going to him, what are you doing? He's going, I just need to go to the toilet, and he's been gone for 3 hours.
Yeah, it's like,
recording podcasts.
What are you up to in there? Okay, well, that's been Talking Reds. These will be carrying on right on through the summer as well. And then we hope to be presenting you with some exciting new video content for the new season as well. So that's something to get excited about as well. So thanks for watching. That's been Talking Reds. Up the Reds.